Hello and happy September! I am going to do a little paint with me today as I create the artwork for my monthly desktop calendars. I send these free calendars out each month, and if you would like to have access to this month's design that I'm painting right now, I will leave the link for you down below. If you've seen my 5 tips for watercolor video, you'll know that I like to work off of live flowers or off of pictures of actual flowers. So instead of working off of another artist's work, I like to have my own rendition of the subject, and this helps me to kind of really embrace my style and play around with that a little bit more. So for this one, I did use my Pinterest Botanicals board. I didn't have any flowers on hand, and I was running out of time to get this done before September actually hit us. And so I will have that linked down below if you are looking for inspiration or you like the kind of flowers that I like. These are different tree peonies. I also do a lot of garden roses and ranunculus. Now, as you can probably tell, this has been sped up quite a bit. I'm just adding kind of a light wash. I wasn't really sure what style I wanted to do. The sketch did prepare itself for a more realistic botanical style illustration, but then I kind of went into autopilot and started to do a more looser style. So in the end, you'll see that there's kind of a marriage of the two and a little bit of fumbling along the way that I don't necessarily recommend, but that's just how it worked out this time. One thing that I love about this paper is that it has a pretty decent work time. So I'm able to kind of bounce back and forth a little bit, which is just like my haphazard style. And so I'll be able to add color here in a minute without having to start over with that gradient. So I'll add some deeper tones to kind of build out the depth in that flower. And the water that was already on there from my first wash will kind of help to spread that out and create that beautiful gradient. So while I'm working, the whole time I'm checking back and forth between my reference photos and then the painting. So again, I do recommend working from life rather than trying to kind of make it up on your own. It's really easy to get lost. And actually in a little bit, you're going to see that I got lost for the second flower on the left there. I lost my reference image, not sure where it went. So I was kind of trying to make it up as I went, and it wasn't great. So you can see in this flower, I'm just going to continue adding some depth and kind of darkening inside of the petals where naturally there's going to be shadows as you get closer to the center. And then I want the edges of those petals to be nice and light still. I like to have a really light and airy aspect to my painting, even though it's not necessarily second nature for me. So one trick that I've found is that adding that depth with the lighter petals and having like the darker areas. So in a little while I'll go back to that and actually add kind of some purple into that rosy pink and red color, and that will kind of help to deepen it even more. There we go. You can see how adding just that little bit of purple in there, it really helps to deepen those shadows and to create some emphasis. I could have also used the complement of this rosy color, which would be green, but I didn't want to desaturate the color any farther, so I chose to go with a purple that I had made previously. It was already in my palette, and so I just kind of added it to my colors, and that helped to add that depth without taking away from the color. My personal color palette doesn't usually have a lot of the moodier colors in it, so I wanted to make sure that this was consistent with those. You can see here this is where I started to get lost with that one flower, getting petals mixed up and just trying to figure out where the depth was. Thankfully, I feel like I was able to save this flower, but oh, it definitely took a while and this is kind of painful to watch. So don't do what I did and keep your reference image on hand and make sure that you're working off of it consistently. One thing that you're about to see me do is adding little bits of color that are consistent throughout. So the centers of these smaller flowers that I'm adding some of the same tones into the centers of the larger peonies. This is an easy way to create some harmony within your piece, even if you have a bunch of different flowers and a lot of different colors within there. If you just kind of like add like the little bit of yellow from the center of this flower into the center of that flower into a touch of the greenery, that will help really create that unity. That's what I did for the white flowers up top. I added the same purple that I used to deepen the peonies themselves. And here I just decided that because this style was really in between two different styles, I needed to pick one. So I decided it was easiest to add the contour around the flowers themselves and just go with a more realistic style and embrace the chaos. So I'm using my favorite micron. This is the 0.25 millimeter, and I'm just adding a kind of rushed contour. This is sped up, but it was pretty quick as it was. If you're not familiar with the concept of a contour line drawing, it's basically just drawing using a single line. So instead of being really sketchy, you're using a continuous line. The idea, if you're using a pure contour, is to not pick up your pencil or your pen, and obviously I didn't follow that here, you can see, but I'm using the same general idea, which is to use a single sensitive line to capture details and to create emphasis by just like darkening a line rather than adding another line next to it that would kind of shade. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. I'm being really quick and kind of whimsical with it, just to kind of capture and add some detail where it was lacking. If you're looking to mimic this style in the future, and what I plan to do next time I do it, would be to start with the waterproof pen. So the Micron is waterproof, and it's what I'm using here, and then go in with the watercolor. It's just a little easier than trying to go back and figure things out. And just a reminder, I have a link below for this calendar, and I'll make sure that I update it every month. So even if it's no longer September and you're watching this, you can check that out, and it will go straight to your inbox. Just hit the link below. And there she is, all scanned and edited. If you haven't done so already, please comment, like, and subscribe down below. It really helps me out, encourages me, and helps me to know what you would like to see in the future.